All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We'll go ahead and get started here. If you got your questions, go ahead and post them. It's going to be, if you're on a mobile device, it's going to be right below the video there where you can post your questions. If you're on a laptop or normal desktop computer, you'll want to, it'll be to the right-hand side there. So first I want to talk about, I got a great question from a member that I thought I would want to share with you. And basically, he asked me, why is it that most people struggle with getting forward shaft lean, with really, really compressing the golf ball? And I thought about it for a little bit. And basically, what it comes down to is when you are releasing that club early and you're flipping, everything is kind of coming out at this point right here, right? So we're releasing it early. The club is kind of flipping through contact. And, you're going to lose a lot of distance when you do that because you're adding loft to this club. So what we need to do is we need to get forward shaft lean so we can really compress that. But in order to do that, it's a different sensation through impact. And a lot of times it doesn't feel as powerful. But the reality is that it is more powerful because you're de-lofting the face. Basically, you're turning a five, or you're turning an 8-iron into a 5-iron or something like that. So that's really, really important, and that's really what all the tour players are doing. Any really good player is most likely getting some forward shaft lean. Well, what's going on here is that when you're coming down into contact here, our hands are turning a corner. So you can see here, my hands they're going out to the right now. They're going right out to the right, and then they turn a corner, and then they start to turn to the left. Well, for most people, it's a more powerful sensation to feel like that club is basically releasing and turning the corner at the same time that our hands are. This feels the most powerful when the hands turn the corner, the club turns the corner. But when you're getting forward shaft lean, that's not what's happening. You're kind of slinging the club through contact. So your hands are coming down, they're starting to turn the corner, but the club head is still working out to the right, right? And that's a different sensation. And I think that's why a lot of people really struggle with forward shaft lean, is because the sensation of the hands kind of moving to the left as the club moves out to the right, it just doesn't feel very powerful. It doesn't feel right. But if you understand that, and then you start to feel the sensation when you hit the ball, when you start feeling that ball really compressing on the face, and when you start hitting an 8-iron and it feels like you're hitting a 5-iron and you see it come off your face like a rocket, that stigma quickly changes. And it takes some time. You're trying to change a movement pattern that takes a quarter of a second to happen. If you talk about your golf swing from the top of the swing to impact, it's about a quarter of a second. So it's going to take some time and some repetition to do that. But if you get that feeling of that compression, that ball kind of feeling like it's plastering on the face and then jumping off of there, it's not gonna feel weak anymore. You're gonna start to associate that with a very, very powerful move. And you'll do that by working through the straight line release course. So you want to make sure that you're nailing all the other pieces first. You want to make sure that you're nailing your stable fluid spine, because it's going to be hard to get that club to release out in front if your spine's not in the correct place. And when we talk about the stable fluid spine, we're talking about being nice and angled away at address, nice and stable and angled away at the top, and then getting more angled away and opening up as you're coming into contact. It's going to be hard to get those hands to be in that correct position if you don't do that. So that's one. You also want to make sure that you're getting a good power turn, because that's the easiest way to get power. Getting this forward shaft lean is another way to get some great power, especially with your irons. But the power turn is the thing that's really going to get you the best power. And if you're not getting a good power turn, you're most likely not going to be you're most likely going to have a hard time making that proper downswing sequence. So really, really important to get that power turn. Make sure that you're getting the lag as well. So these are all the pieces of the top speed golf system that I'm talking about here. So this is a third piece, lag. So we want to make sure that we're sharpening this angle between the lead forearm and the shaft. in the start of the downswing. We can't have this club already starting to release there, because if we're doing that, you're almost guaranteed to release that club when your hands are turning the corner as you're coming through with impact. So you want to make sure that you're generating some lag there. And then the compression line is something that maybe we haven't talked about a lot, but our compression line is the line that goes from our lead ankle, our lead hip, and our lead shoulder. And we want that to be in a nice straight line here at contact, slightly angled away from the target. So I'm talking a few degrees at most. So very, very slightly angled away from the target. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to turn through contact and continue to get the hands to move around your body, right? To get that club to really kick out, get the hands moving around your body and let the club kick out toward the golf ball. So if we're bumped out here, then we're going to tend to want to release that club at the golf ball. We're going to tend to, our hands are going to want to, it's just going to feel more comfortable to do that. It's going to be hard to rotate. We need to have that rotation, and that comes from having that compression line. So once you're nailing those pieces, you're working your way through the Top Speed Golf system, and you get to the straight line release. Understand that we want to have that sensation of our hands working to the left, or hands turning the corner as the club is still working out to the golf ball. And I think that's going to be, if you have kind of that visualization, it can help you a lot with the straight line release course. So those of you who are already working in the straight line release course, have that thought in your mind as you're working through that. As you're doing the pet the grass drill, the pet the grass drill, the one where we're coming down, we're petting the grass, get the feeling of your hands kind of working out and then working in, and how that club, visualize how that club is working out to the golf ball as your hands are still turning the corner there. So work on that if you're working on those pieces, but check those out. I think that's going to help you out quite a bit when you're working on that in your game. All right. All right. So Michael A says, I can't seem to get the feeling of turning the hips back and clearing them. I'm getting stuck. And when trying to save the shot by flipping my hands, do I need to feel like I'm jumping and pushing backwards with my left side? So that's a good question. So it's hard to say, Michael, exactly what's going on without seeing your swing. But the most common thing that I see is a sliding of the hips. And it kind of sounds like that may be going on with you. And when I say sliding of the hips, I'm talking about in the backswing and in the downswing, because it can create an action-reaction kind of thing. So if I'm sliding my hips in the backswing, if I'm going like this as I go up to the top, so I'm sliding my hips, I'm going to want to do that in the downswing too. And when you slide, you're not rotating, you're sliding, right? So we need to get the feeling that we are turning our hips in the backswing and we're turning our hips in the downswing. It's almost like you're turning your hips in a barrel. That's kind of what you want to feel like. And a lot of people have trouble with this because they feel like, oh, I can't shift my weight. Well, you're still going to shift your weight. As you're bringing your arms back this way, your weight, you're going to be loading up here, right? But a lot of times when you shift your weight and by sliding your hips, you're going to have a hard time getting your weight to your lead side with the proper timing and sequencing. So what I'd recommend doing is really, really exaggerating the opposite. Really, really exaggerate the opposite. So the opposite would be is if you're sliding your hips like this, what would be the opposite of that? That would be doing this, right? So really try to get your femur here, your thigh bone, to be angled in toward your body as much as you can. So not out here. So my thigh bone is more vertical here. I want to get that angled in toward my body as much as I can. So that's going to be looking like this. So I'm very, very turning my hips here. And then I'm going to do the same thing in the downswing. I'm going to try and get my femur angled into my body here and turn my hips that way. So I'd be just doing some practice swings. Just do some pausing, slow practice swings at first. Where we go up to the top, I want to turn my femur into my body as much as I can right here. Get in this position. And then I'm going to come down to impact. And I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to try and get my femur turned the other way, right? So here you can see I'm very, very cleared with my hips. Now this is not what you're actually going to do in the swing. It's an exaggeration to help you feel what we're trying to do. When you go and you actually do this in a fluid practice swing, it's probably going to look more like this, right? It's probably going to look more like what it should look like when you're coming in. So try to exaggerate it in the practice swings, and then when you go to do it in your real swing, it's going to be closer to what you're trying to do. And look on video, see what you're doing. Look in a mirror, see what you're doing. You got to get some feedback to know to see if what you're doing is actually the reality, if your feel is real. Oftentimes our feel is not real. We think we're doing something, but that is not what we're doing, right? So we have to look on video in the mirror to see what's going on there. So I make sure that you do that. One other thing I want to mention is you talked about jumping or pushing backwards. You want to be careful with that jumping feeling. We see a lot of tour players now, especially with the driver. They get that floating lead foot, right? We see this with Bubba Watson. We see this with Brooks Koepka. We see this with Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas. I mean, there's a lot of players out there, especially with the driver, that are getting that floating lead foot action. So just to kind of show you what I'm talking about, when they're coming into contact, what you're seeing is as they're coming into contact, we're starting to see this lead leg start to kind of float. It kind of does this action. It kind of floats open as they're coming in. So that is from the hips basically turning so much and pushing so much into the ground initially, and the hips clearing so quickly that it actually pushes the foot kind of open and off to the side. So a lot of people, when they try to work on this, they're actually trying to jump to get the foot off the ground. What you need to do is try to clear the hips so much that it gets the foot off the ground. If you just try to jump, what you're going to do is you're just going to push your hip up, and you're just going to end up coming into contact and jumping up like that. That's not what we want to do. We want to come into contact and clear everything out. So I'd really be focusing on if you're trying to, and this is kind of advanced if you get to that point, but basically you want to, if you're trying to work on that, clearing the hips so quickly that the foot comes off the ground, it kind of looks like you're jumping, then what you need to feel like is that you're pushing away from you to clear your hips so quickly, and feel like the hip being cleared out this way is what brings the foot off the ground, not just jumping up in the air. Because that's a common mistake that I see with a lot of students who are trying to do, like what the pros are doing. But what they're doing is they're just early extending very, very quickly because they're jumping straight up essentially. And there is some power associated with that, but it's not going to be very much. You're going to be better off not just pushing away from you just to clear the hips a little bit. Because what's going on is when you jump, when you have early extension, basically the force, you're pulling it up that way. Well, the handle, the club head's going that way, right? So we want to have that force being in the opposite direction to speed that up. You imagine if I throw this club that way and I pull it this way, that's going to speed it up, right? That's going to really speed it up. But if the club head's moving that way and then there's a little bit of an extra force pulling it up, that's not going to speed it up as much. We want it to be in the opposite direction. And that's what's going on with our hip. When we push our hip back out of the way, that's speeding this club up as it's coming into contact. All right. So Daniel G says, good morning, Q. I'm struggling getting my club to vertical at impact. My divot pattern has a deeper toe dig. I think it's contributing to my common push right miss. Any ideas how to fix it and some good drills to train my hands? So it could be part of the reason why you're getting that push to the right miss, because when you do open the face, I'll use my little angle finder here. So I've got a 3-iron here. Let's get it on here. So if I were to, so this would be a square club face, right? So we're seeing the face is open, or the face is square and it's going straight. If I were to have my toe down a little bit, so you can see I went toe down a little bit. You can see how that kind of goes off to the light. Toe down, or heel down a little bit would be off to the left. So it could be contributing a little bit to that, but typically, most players have a toe down divot and hit the ball, and a lot of them hit the ball straight. It's about, you will make a compensation in your swing. So that's not really what's going on. But what most likely is going on is you're losing a lot of power and stability because of the toe down divot. Because basically, if your toe is down, right? So if I have this club, it's on the ground, I have a toe down. Now this is kind of extreme, but if you're coming in toe down, that raises the sweet spot on the club. So you're going to end up hitting a lot of thin shots, most likely when you do that, or even chunk shots when you do that. So, like I said, you can. It's not really the push right is not the issue, because really here I can have, if I can show you, if I have my angle finder on here again, and I have the toe down a little bit, well, now I can just close the face, right? So you would just roll the hands over a little bit more, turn the handle a little bit more to square up the face. So that's not really going to be an issue with the push right miss. It's really more of an issue with thin shots because, like I said, you're raising the sweet spot of the club. That's really the big thing there, raising the sweet spot of the club. You're going to hit a lot of thin and a lot of chunk shots because it's hard to come down. And your timing has to be pretty good, and you have to have a pretty good lie. If you're on a lie where it's kind of a really shortly mown, maybe you're playing like a really nice course that has those really tight mown fairways. It's like hitting on a glass, grass glass almost. It's tough to get that club down there. You're going to hit a lot of thin shots, most likely when you do that. So the first thing that I would try to do, and it may seem kind of trivial, but the first thing that I would try to do is practice and literally try to get that heel coming down on the club or that heel coming down on the turf first. So right now, this is just adjusting your feeling to get the desired result. So right now you're coming in and you've got some probably early extension, and you're coming in and you're kind of like this when you're coming into contact in the toes down, right? So what I would try to feel like is that you're coming down and you're trying to come down and you're getting that heel on the turf first. You're really coming down, getting these hands really low, getting that heel on the turf. Now, we don't really want to do that in the swing, but you feeling that is most likely going to get you closer to where you're coming in nice and flush with the turf. So that's the first thing that I would do is I would just go out to the range or in your house or in the backyard or something like that and really, really focus on getting that heel on the ground. What you can do is you can take some masking tape or something and put it on the bottom, on the sole of your club here, and then if you have like a sheet of plastic, like a plastic cutting board or something like that, and you can come down and you can practice coming down and trying to get that heel on the ground first, and you'll be able to see on the masking tape where your club's coming down. So if you've ever been fitted for clubs and they've tested your lie angle, you've probably seen something like this before. So they put that tape on the bottom of your club, and then you can see where you're striking it as far as the heel as the toe is concerned. Because it's hard to know if you're really coming down and doing it. So having that feedback mechanism there works really good. So tape on there with like a plastic cutting board or something like that, you're going to be able to see that mark on there whenever you do that. So give that a try. The other piece would be to work through, because most likely when people are having trouble with this, when they're getting those toe down divots, it's because of early extension. So early extensions where my hips are kind of moving toward the golf ball at any point in the swing. So this can happen in the backswing too. A lot of people think it only happens in the downswing, but I see people all the time that kind of stand up in the backswing. And I very rarely see people who stand up in the backswing get down here in the downswing. So if you're already kind of standing up in the backswing, then most likely you're going to stay stood up in the downswing as well. So working through the stop early extension course is going to be a really, really good one to do that, to get better with this. So ideally what we'd want to do is if you were to look on video and use an analyzer app, a swing analyzer app like V1 Golf, where you can draw lines and stuff, you draw a line right on your backside here, and in the backswing, you would see there would never be any space between your backside and that line throughout the swing. So we call it the tush line sometimes. And as you go up to the top, and then as you're coming down, you will never see any light between anything between you and that line. If there's a little bit, a small amount, it's fine. But typically, if you're in a situation where you're getting those really big time toe divots, those toe down divots, you're gonna see your backside moving off of that 4, 5, 6 inches a lot of times. So we want to see it very, very minimally moving off of that, or none at all. And that's what you're going to see in most tour players. Now, there are a few tour players out there that are pretty darn good major championship winners who have early extension. A couple to mention are Jimmy Walker and Zach Johnson, but they're coming off of that line a very, very small amount. It's not what I see in most amateurs who struggle with this, where they're basically stood straight up. They're coming off of that line a little bit, and they're really, really crunched into their side as they're coming in. So that's what you're going to see. But work through that stop early extension course. Work on getting that heel down, really, really exaggerating that, and you'll start striking the ball a lot better. You'll start realizing it's a lot easier to get the ball in the center of the face. It's not likely an issue with your pushes because, like I said, that's a face and path issue. That's not when I say face and path, yes, toe down, all things equal, opens your face more, but you're going to adjust and you're going to have toe down. You'll just close the face. So that's not really the issue of what's going on there. It's more just getting it more in the center of the face because it's just hard to hit it really solid when you're getting that toe down. So work through that stop early extension course. To get to that course is very, very easy. All you have to do is go to the top of the page there, click the house icon. That's going to take you to the home page. And on the home page, you'll scroll down. You'll see all the bonus courses that are included with your membership. You'll see the stop early extension course and start working through those drills. All right. So Stephen P says, hi, Q. Do you have a good advice on how to play out of a sand bunker, very little sand, or wet or compacted sand? Yeah. So let me grab a wedge. Actually, you know what? I got my wedges are in my garage. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go grab a wedge so I can kind of show you guys. All right, I'm back. I just had to go get a wedge so I can kind of show you. So, yeah, it's very, very similar to what you would do out of a normal sand bunker. So let's just go over what a normal sand bunker shot would be, and then we can talk about the adjustments that you would make. So a normal sand bunker shot would be, we're going to open up the face about 45 degrees. And the reason why we do that is because we want this club, we want to use the bounce of this club. So if we have this club like this coming in, we're getting forward chaffling, we're getting the leading edge entering the sand first, it's just going to dive into the sand, and it's just going to get lost in the sand. We're not going to be able to get the ball out very well. So that's not ideal. That's not what we want to do. The easiest way to think about it is to think about a water skier, right? So if you got a water skier, if he gets those skis, the nose of those skis going down, his skis are just going to dive into the water. That's the same thing that's happening with your club here. If he keeps the nose of the skis up, he's just going to glide on top of the water, which is what we want to do with the bunker. We want this club to glide on top of the sand there and underneath the golf ball, so we can get the golf ball out easily. So we want to open up the face about 45 degrees. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see people make hitting bunker shots is that they don't open the face at all, or they don't open it up enough. We need to open about 45 degrees. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a nice wide stance, and we're going to play the ball a little bit forward in our stance. So if I angle this down a little bit, let's grab a ball. All right, so I'm going to play this ball a little bit forward in my stance. So here I am. I got this face opened up. I get basically the face is pointing up to the sky, and I got this ball a little bit forward in my stance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, and try to contact the sand somewhere 4 to 6 inches behind my golf ball. Somewhere in that area, 4 to 6 inches behind the golf ball. That will allow it to come in, slide underneath the golf ball, and then let the golf ball kind of pop out of there. And as far as how hard you swing, depends on how far the shot is. It just takes some time to get the feeling for that. It also depends on how close you want to hit to the golf ball. If you want to hit a more spinny bunker shot, then you'll hit a little bit closer to the golf ball, but the golf ball is going to go a little bit further. So if you have a close bunker shot and you need to hit a spinny one, you will hit a little bit closer to the golf ball with a little bit less of a swing. You want to make sure that you're still accelerating through the golf ball. This is a big problem that I see with people who hit out of bunkers. And this is it's a very understandable thing because it's a short shot. A lot of times, if it's a green side bunker shot, you're not hitting it very far, but you're taking this huge swing. So it's hard to trust it. So, it just takes some practice to get comfortable with it. But once you start getting comfortable with it and you start understanding, okay, I need to hit it this hard to hit it that far, you'll start to get better with it. So, but anyway, hitting, about 4 inches behind the golf ball will give you a little bit more of a spinny bunker shot. You don't have to hit it as hard, and it will obviously check up more when you get there, and the ball will go further when you do that. You hit a little bit more behind the ball, 6 inches behind the ball, sometimes even 8 inches behind the golf ball. It's going to come out lower. It's going to have less spin, but it's not going to go as far for the same amount of a swing. So those shots are typically good for a high percentage shot because you can just swing really, really hard and hit. You have a huge margin for error here, and the ball will come out and roll out a little bit. That's a lot of times when you see a lot of players. That's what they do when it's a kind of a longer bunker shot. When there's a lot of green to work with, and you'll see that ball get on the green and just roll out a ton. They're hitting behind the golf ball quite a bit, and they're swinging hard, and they're just getting that ball to go toward the hole as fast as possible. So that's basically out of a normal sand bunker shot. And the way you gauge that, like I said, it just takes practice. It's not something I can just tell you, oh, this is how you control the distance. You got to go out and get a feeling for it. You got to go practice it. So hopefully wherever you are, or at least if the courses are going to be opening up soon, if they're not open already, you're able to get out to a practice bunker shot and practice those things. If you're not able to, then you can't really expect to be very good at the bunker. If you can't practice it, you can't expect to be good. You just got to be happy to get it on the green. Now, if you're in a situation where it's a hard bunker, compact bunker, really, it's very much the same. It's very much the same situation as it is of a normal bunker shot. You just make a couple minor adjustments. So remember, we talked about how we want to open up the face 45 degrees to allow this bounce to come in and glide through the sand. Well, if we did that in a very hard or compacted sand bunker, a lot of times it will just bounce off of that. It won't dig down at all, and you'll just skull the ball out of there, which is not what we want to do. So if you're in a very hard bunker, and like I said, not all wet, hard bunkers are created equal. Some are like concrete, and some are just a little bit wet, and the club won't dig as much. So you'll need to gauge that based on feel and just some practice with it. If it's a hard concrete kind of bunker, you may not need to open up the face at all. You may actually want the club to kind of dig down in there to kind of crack through that and get underneath the golf ball. But if it's just like a little wet bunker and it's just not going to dig down as much, then you may just open up the face 30 degrees. So we talked about opening up the 45 for a normal bunker, opening it up about 30 degrees. So that's the difference of here's 45 degrees open, there's like 30 degrees open. So it's not a huge difference, but it exposes a little bit less of this bounce, which allows the club to dig just a little bit to get underneath the golf ball. The other thing is to hit a little bit closer to the golf ball. So as we talked about in a normal sand bunker, we can hit behind the golf ball 6-8 inches. As long as it's kind of a fluffy sand bunker and we're got the face opening up, the club will glide through there and you'll be able to get underneath the golf ball. But like I said, if you do that on a very hard bunker, you won't be able to do that. So you need to hit a little bit closer to the golf ball. All right. So, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, probably max, depending on how hard the bunker is going to be what you would want to do. Also, you may want to, so in a normal sand bunker shot, you want to come in pretty shallow and let that club kind of glide through the sand. In a hard bunker shot, because you're trying to get this club to go into the sand, you may want to come down and instead of, now you're not going to go like that, but just come down a little bit steeper into the golf ball. Play the ball, instead of playing the ball a little bit more forward, you can play the ball just a little bit back, and that will help you to hit a little bit more down into the sand to get underneath the golf ball. But really, it's not that much different. It's just, you just got to make a few minor adjustments, and these things come with practice. You just got to go practice it. And if you're at a place where you practice and the practice bunker is great, bring a bucket of water with you and put it in the bunker. Make it really, really wet and packed down. Excuse me. And you can practice those shots. You can bring some a bucket of water and pour it in there, and you can have a portion of the bunker that's fluffy and great and a portion of the bunker that's wet and packed down. And you can practice going back and forth and getting a feeling for what you need to do in each shot and situation. So that's why I recommend doing, but it's really it's not as difficult as a lot of people, I think, make it out to be. All right, let's keep it going here. So Andrew S says, I'm really struggling with my driver recently. I keep hitting it super low left. I hit my irons great with a nice draw. I believe my driver face is too shut and coming from the inside. I've been holding the face open, but really don't like that feel. Any suggestion? So let's talk about what's probably going on. It's hard for me to say exactly without seeing your swing. But what's probably going on is you're probably hitting it low on the face and on the heel. That's a killer of a great. You can make a great golf swing, a perfect golf swing essentially. But if you hit it low on the heel, that ball isn't going to go anywhere. So here's what happens. When you hit it low and on the heel, this face will actually twist, right? It will twist down, and it will also twist closed. So if you hit it low on the face will twist down a little bit. There's your low shot. And if you hit it low, if you hit it on the heel, the face will twist closed a little bit. There's your left shot, right? So the low left shot is most likely being caused by a strike that is low on the face and toward the heel, because that really closed the face. And not to mention, you're not hitting it anywhere near the center of the face, so you're not really getting that compression on the golf ball either. You're not transferring very much energy to the golf ball. So what I'd recommend doing is going out, see where you're striking the ball on the club face. Get some foot powder spray. I've got some right here. You can see I kind of have some on the face right here. But if you just get some foot powder spray, this is the Walgreens brand foot powder spray. The kind that we use that works the best that we found is the Dr. Scholl's Odor Eaters X. It's a yellow can. I haven't bought some in a while, but I think that they still make it. They just didn't have any available when I got this. But this works fine. This is the Walgreens foot powder spray brand. So you can see, I say it works great, and then it's not really working. There we go. So you can see it's showing up on the face there. I probably just need to shake it up a little bit. But anyway, when you do that, what you can do is when you contact the golf ball, so you can see there's the strike on the face when I hit it. So you can see where you're striking on the face. So that's what I'd recommend doing. See where you're striking it on the club face, and then adjust your feel based on what's going on. So if you find, hey, I'm hitting it low and on the heel with a lot of these drives, what I would try to do is I would actually try to hit it high and on the toe. Just adjust your feeling to get the desired result. So visualize hitting that high and on the toe. And if you still hit it in the heel, just exaggerate it even more. You may need to feel like you're hitting the ball up in this area, not even on the face. Exaggerate it as much as you need to. Now, if you actually strike the ball high and on the toe, that's great. That means you've made change. Now just ease off of that feeling to get it more in the center. But most likely what's going to happen, if you're hitting it down here low and on the heel and you try to hit it up here, it's probably going to be pretty close to the center of the face when you do that. And keep doing that. That's the issue that I run into with a lot of my players is they'll do that one time, right? So they'll adjust their field. They're hitting it down here, and then they'll adjust their field to hitting it right here, and they hit it in the center. And then the very next swing, they'll go right back to this. Don't go away from what's working. You have to stick with that. Stick with what's working until it's not working anymore. So what that would mean is you keep trying to strike it up here until you actually start striking it up here. And then if you do, then you can just start to ease off it a little bit to get it in the center of the face. A lot of what golf is just constant adjustments, adjusting your field to get the desired result that you want. So I know that you said that, trying to hold the face open, you didn't like the way that feel. Well, you may not like the way that it feels, but if it's giving you a great result, I think that feeling is going to change pretty quickly, right? So adjust your field to get the desired result. Excuse me. That's what I would definitely be doing to get that to be in a better place. So if you're having trouble with that, if you're having trouble with the driver still, and you can't get that strike move and you've exaggerated it as much as you can, slow down a little bit. Literally try to hit your driver 100 yards. If you normally swing 100 miles per hour, to hit your driver about 100 yards, it's about a 50 mile per hour swing. You can imagine how slow that is. It's going to feel very, very slow. But when you go very, very slow and deliberate, it helps you feel things that are going on. And you may feel something that's not quite right in your swing. So get to where you can hit a perfectly square, straight, 100-yard driver shot. That's going to be like a 50 mile per hour swing. And then once you feel that, bump it up. Try to hit it 150 yards, which is probably going to be, I'm guessing, about a 65, 70 mile per hour swing, I think, to hit it 150. You'll bump it up a little bit more, right? So, and get it to be perfect there. You don't want to get stuck to where you're swinging really, really slow, and that's what you're doing out on the course. The goal is always to get up to where you're going faster and faster and faster. Like, get it at the slower speed first, and then build it up to the faster speed. So that's what I'd recommend. If you're still having trouble with it, then I work on that, because it really helps you to feel, in your swing when you're going really fast. And speed takes away feel a lot of times. So in your swing, you may be coming over the top and pulling, and that may be where that low left shot is coming from. But you may not be able to feel it. But I tell you what, when you go really, really slow, you feel that club coming out like that, you're going to feel it. All right. So that can help you to kind of correct those things. Also look on video and see what's going on video, and you may be able to correct it at a fast pace just by seeing what's going on in videos. So looking at video, if you see you're swinging over the top like this, you may be able to feel like you're going like this in a fast speed and be able to fix that as well. So that's why I'd be looking at. That's why I do, Andrew. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any further questions about that. All right. So William S. says, I'm struggling with early extension. I mean, I can't hit everything straight with fair distance, but what with the early extension? Should I try to get rid of it? I'm struggling with early extension. I mean, I can hit everything straight and fair distance, but what with early extension? Should I try to get rid of it? So that's a good question. It really depends on what you're going to get out of it if you fix it. You always have to look at what you're struggling with the most. Here's the best way to think about improving your game. What is the one thing that is going on with my impact and my ball flight, or what it may be putting, it could be chipping. What is the one thing that I can do to improve my game? So if you are struggling with forward shaft lean, if you're struggling with hitting center face strikes, fixing early extension can help that, can fix that. We talked about earlier, someone asked about, their face and their path with the early extension. Now, the push can be caused a little bit by the early extension, because when you have early extension, your club can work more from the inside, but you can also make an adjustment and have early extension and swing perfectly down on plane as well. So mainly what early extension hurts you is it's going to make it difficult to hit it in the center of the face, because you're moving the center of the face higher, right? So you have to have like a perfect lie where the ball's sitting up on the grass to hit a truly center face strike. It's also going to make it very difficult to get forward shaft lane, because when you have early extension, you're typically going to be standing up and pulling your hands higher, right? And you're going to flip the club, release the club early. So it's a little bit hard to be consistent when you do that. So that's what you have to look at. You have to look at what's the one thing. Like I talked about earlier, there's Zach Johnson and there is Jimmy Walker. These are two major championship winners, 3 major championships between the two of them, that play great golf with early extension, right? So you can play great golf with early extension. Can you play great golf can you be a really, really good player and be in this position at contact? Most likely not. Most likely not. I haven't seen any good tour players. But if you have a little bit of early extension, right, and you can play some great golf. I mean, just like Zach Johnson and Jimmy Walker do. I'm sure there's others. It's just they're escaping me right now. But you just have to look at what's the one thing that can really help your game. So if speed, if you're not hitting it very far, and speed is a big one, then that's what I'd be working on. I'd be working on getting some speed, working through the 20-minute distance fix and adding some speed to your game. Because it's not just with your driver. When you work on speed, when we work through the 20-minute distance fix, we're using the driver, but that's going to trickle down to all your other clubs as well. You know, I've done the speed training. I was swinging 108, 110 before I did this speed training. My 9-iron went about 145 yards, with that. And then I did the speed training. I got up to where my fastest swing ever was 126 miles per hour. My playing speed is now around 119, 120 miles per hour. My 9-iron now goes 160 yards, right? And I'm not doing anything different with my 9-iron. It's just that my club head speed's gone up so much that it's through all of my clubs that is happening. So that's really what it comes down to, is improving that, getting some speed. If you want to get some distance, that's really the easiest way to do it. After you've gotten a lot of speed, maybe it's then to look at getting some compression on the ball, getting some forward shaft lean to help you be able to do that. So you got to look at what's the one thing that's really going to help your game right now, and then work on the piece of technique that's going to help you achieve that. So William, if you're still on here, let me know what's going on. What's the one thing, and I can try and steer you in the right direction. So we got a lot of questions on here. I don't know if I'll be able to get to you, William, but if you get on here, but I will try. So I may take these questions and go a little bit fast with them so I can cover everybody. So Fernand L says, I have a tendency of creating a gap between my club and palm on the top of the backswing. Is this terrible? It could be, because you're losing control of the club. So you may be just doing too light of a grip pressure. A lot of people, they ask me, what's the right grip pressure? What should it be throughout the swing, 1 through 10? And really the best way I know to answer that is you need to hold on to it strongly enough that you can control it and hold on to it, but not so little that you can't move your hands around at all. So if you make a fist and clench it as hard as you can, you're going to have a hard time moving your wrist around, right? So that you don't need to grip the club that hard, right? But you do need to grip the club hard enough that you can control it. You can have some control with it, because if you don't put enough pressure into it, you're going to lose control of it. So think about that whenever you're working on your grip or working on hitting balls. All right. So Nicholas P says, I found that the feet together, then the step drill Clay uses in the never top or thin again series really helps my ground contact. And the more I extend the left through impact, it also shallows the club into impact. Would you say that's accurate? Yeah. That's the whole idea of the course, for sure. So Tim L says, I'm happy with my progress. I hit what I call a floater. It flies too high. I do this all with my irons. Am I releasing too soon? Most likely, but I'd look at your swing on video. If you look at your swing on video, use an analyzer app like V1 Golf. It's very, very easy to use. It's free on both Android and Apple. Video your swing, look at it on video, see where you're releasing that club. So ideally what we'd like to see is we like to see that club releasing about 45 degrees out in front. If most people are releasing the club too early, they're releasing the club, 10, 20 degrees out in front, somewhere in that area. Some people are releasing right at the golf ball or before the golf ball if you're releasing really early. But typically that's what you're going to see is an early release if you're getting those really high shots, because that's what's adding loft to the club face. So if I were to release the club properly now, so that's 45 degrees out in front where this club is splitting the forearms right here. If I rewind that to contact, look at I have forward shaftling here. Whereas if I'm releasing it right here, this is where the club's splitting the forearms, 15 degrees out in front, and I rewind that to contact, you can see not as much forward shaftling. So I'm not de-lofting the face as much. So practice Patrick C says, during my round, I will hit a big block to the right on my tee shot. Seems like a couple times per round, I hit a big block to the right. So a block is caused by the club path being too much into out and a face that is open, right? Or in line with that path, but open to the target. I would imagine your normal ball flight's probably a draw, right? So you need to work on your path a little bit, getting your path to be a little bit more on plane. So instead of swinging so much from the inside, feel like you're coming over the top a little bit to get that ball a little bit more on plane. Working on the Never Hook Again course is a good one to help you to get that club working more on plane instead of too much from the inside. I know you may not be hooking, but typically those who block also have a miss that's a hook as well. So you may also be doing that. Work through that Never Hook Again course to get that club to be more on plane. It could also be that you're hitting it way out on the toe sometimes on those shots. So what happens is that when you hit it way out on the toe, if you hit it way out here, this club will twist open a lot and the ball will just push out to the right. So use the foot powder spray like I talked about before and see if that's what's happening on those ones that block or that push way out to the right that you're getting. And if that's the case, then work on your strike location. Try to hit the ball more in the heel of the club to compensate to get that. Because most likely if you're hitting, if you hit it way out here, sometimes your normal strike is probably toward the toe. It's just not way out here on the toe. So you may want to adjust your feel to hitting it on the heel to get most of your strikes more in the center of the face. To get to the Never Hook Again course, click the house icon at the top of the screen. That'll take you to the home page. Scroll down on the home page, you'll see a list of all the courses. Click the Never Hook Again course. All right, so John N says, I have gained 10 miles per hour through the 20-minute speed course, fundamentally from letting the lead foot come up, opening both feet and more turn. I am a single plane golfer and not going to use higher in the backswing. I need more speed. Should I lower my arms at address and going higher on the backswing as I'm going out of other options? If you're a one plane swinger, it's just not going to be as powerful. So if you want to hit the ball further, it's possible that you may be able to do so with more of a vertical plane in the backswing, because it's just going to give you more space. So if you're swinging on one plane and you're right here versus up here, look how much more space I have to accelerate the club. A lot more space right here to get that club working down. So you may want to switch to more of a two-plane approach, vertical backswing, and then shallowed out downswing. That's pretty much what all the best players in the world are doing. So if you want more distance, that could be an easy way to do it. Some low-hanging fruit right there. If not, I continue to work on your power turn. It's not likely that you've gotten everything that you can out of it. You've probably gotten the most out of it, most of what you can out of it, but there's probably still a little bit there to be had. You can look at lag as well. Make sure that you're getting a good amount of lag. If you're casting the club, that is a distance leak right there. So we want to make sure that we're not doing this and that we're doing this. Again, we're talking about space for this club head to create speed. If I'm here, right, so this is casting versus right here, look at how much more space I have to accelerate this club. So look at your lag in your swing as well to see what's going on there with the boomerang and the release. That acceleration drill is another place. But yeah, if you're looking for more speed, that one plane approach is not really going to be probably the best option for speed. So Richard S. says, morning Q, I was wondering on the downswing, are there any drills to get the right elbow to move inside next to the body on the downswing? Yeah, there's a lot of drills out there, but I'll tell you a drill that we don't really have on the website. I think Clay actually just made a video for it here recently, so you guys may see it here in the next few months on the website. But it's called like the slap shot drill. So basically what it is kind of thinking about your golf club as being a hockey stick and you're hitting a slap shot. So you can see here, when I do that, automatically my trail elbow gets bent. So that would look something like this. You're setting up like this, right? I'm going up to the top, and then I'm feeling as I'm coming down, you can see how my elbow is staying into my side, and I have to rotate open to get into contact. So that's kind of that feeling that you're having. You can actually hit some balls doing this as well. It's not easy, but you definitely can. The other thing I like about this drill is you can easily feel if you're coming over the top. Like if I'm coming over the top, I can definitely feel that, and I know I'm not going to get to the golf ball. If I'm swinging too much inside, I can definitely feel that as well. It really helps you to get this club on plane, get that elbow in the right position, and forces you to rotate into contact. So try that feeling. You can actually do this if you have like an impact bag or like a beanbag chair or something like that. You can actually do this drill, grab your driver, grab it like this, and you can actually kind of come in and impact that bag every time and really rotate. You can see when I'm doing that, where my elbow is. It's in the right position basically automatically from doing that. Once you kind of get that sensation, try to translate that into your normal swing. So you're coming in the same way and you're getting that same feeling of that elbow working into the body as you're coming in. So try that drill. I think that's a really, really great one. I call it the slap shot drill or the hockey slap shot drill. It's a really, really good one to help you get that proper feeling of that elbow coming into the body. All right. So Jeanette Marie says, any suggestions for working on balance and rhythm? A really good one, this is a tried and true one for balance, is to really just with your feet together. So a lot of times we can, we widen our stance for stability. So if we put our feet really, really close together and do some swings, it really, really forces you to swing in balance, right? So good balance and rhythm. So that's why I try to do some swings where you have your feet really, really close together. One other thing you can do is you can have one foot up and then have your other foot kind of back. So if I go like this, I can have one foot down and then have another foot that's kind of like that and take some swings. Like you can't swing really fast and out of rhythm and balance when you do this. You have to swing. It forces you to. You can do the same thing with the other foot, right? You can take some swings where you're doing it with the other foot. So both feet together, taking some swings, right? One foot, left foot and right foot kind of on your toes, taking some swings. And then you can go the other way, take some swings. And that can really, really help you with your balance and rhythm, working on those things. Excuse me. All right. So Dermot B says, normally I hit a draw to a hook. Recently I started block rights. What causes this? And what can I do? That's a path that's too much into out. You're swinging this club too much into out. Work on the never hook again course to get that club to be working more on plane. To get to the course, click on the house icon. That's going to take you to the home page. Scroll down on the home page, and you'll see a list of all the courses. Click on that bonus course there, that never hook again course. If you're someone who's struggling with slicing, we have a slicing course as well for those of you out there. We're not forgetting the slicers. But we also have the folks that are hooking the ball as well. All right, so Charles RB says, Q, not much has been said about the mental side of the game. My playing and partner and I both have recent games, but seem to be suffering from mental lapses around during the round. We seem to let our minds get in the way of making a good swing. Any suggestions on how to overcome this stumbling block? Thanks, Pete. Pete, we actually do have a mental game course on the website if you want to go check it out. We actually had a good friend of ours. He's actually a member of the website, Dr. Thad Leffingwell. He is the sports psychologist for the Oklahoma State, the Cowboys. I think they're the Cowboys, right? So he's worked with Ricky Fowler, the new guys out there, Matt Wolf and Victor Hovland. You know, a lot of great players have come out of Oklahoma State, and he's worked with a lot of them as far as the mental side is concerned. So if you're interested, he did a video series for us where he talked about some really good mental game stuff. I would go check that out. I'll be honest with you, it's not really my expertise, the mental side of the game. I'm more in the technical side for sure. Definitely something I need to get better with. If you're looking for some good books, this is a good one as well. Zen Golf, and then anything that is by Bob Rotella. He's written several books. Probably 5. I don't know if I have any hard copies. I think I've just listened to them on Audible. But he's got several books about the mental side, and specifically about certain things in golf on the mental side. So whether it comes to putting only or just winning championships, right? How Champions Think is one that I read. I think it's called by him. So check those out. They're all on Audible. Great, really, really great author, and really knows his stuff as far as that's concerned. I've learned a lot, but like I said, I'm not an expert in it. I would listen to the experts on that. So Zen Golf is a fantastic book, short read if you want to check that out. And then if you want to check out the bonus course on the mental side, go to the homepage by clicking the house icon at the top of the page. It's going to be toward the bottom of the page where you'll find that. Really some great tidbits and videos there with Dr. Thad. Check those out. So Dennis G says, I'm practicing the step drill, and I get the feeling that I'm sliding. Very hard to get the feel of hip rotation in the step drill. Any suggestions? So basically, as soon there's going to be a lateral shift, right? So we're stepping, there's going to be a lateral shift. But as soon as you get that foot, you kind of squat into the ground here and you get that foot planted and you get this femur kind of angled into your body, push the hip back. What we don't want to be doing is this, right? That is sliding. So look at yourself on video and see if that's what you're doing. And if it is, I want you, when you plant that foot down, I want you to get lower and get some flex in this knee and get this femur, your angle or your thigh bone angled in toward your body, and then push the hip back out of the way as you're coming in. And that will help you to get your hips turning through contact. Eric D says, frequent while making the move, the 3-wood will scream along the ground and travel 140 yards wide. Probably hitting it thin, probably hitting it up on it a little bit. So a big reason why I see people struggle with their 3-wood is they play it too far forward in their stance. Play it just a little bit ahead of the middle. Play it in the same way, same place you play your 7-iron. And most likely that will help you to hit more down on the golf ball. And because we still want to hit down. We need to hit down on the ball. Anything that's on the turf, we got to hit down on it a little bit. Now, I'm not talking down like that. I'm talking, your average tour player hits down on their 3-wood probably about 3 degrees. So if you think about it, 1 minute on a clock is 6 degrees. So that's not very much. That little sliver, that 1 minute, that's 6 degrees. So they're hitting down on it, but it's still very, very shallow as they're coming in. If you're hitting it thin, you're most likely hitting up on the golf ball. So you're coming in and you may be hitting it up on it 4 or 5 degrees. And what happens when you do that is your club's coming down, it's bottoming out and then working up into the golf ball. And when you do that, you'll hit it on the lower part of the face. So we need to hit the golf ball first, hit down and through the ground a little bit, and then let it come up. And a lot of times when you're hitting only 3 degrees down, you're still just going to be kind of sweeping the turf. It's not going to be much of a divot. Sometimes it will be, but usually it's not going to be much of a divot when you do that, depending on the turf. All right. And I apologize if I can't answer everybody's questions today. But real quickly, the golf app I mentioned, Jim, was the V1 golf app. It's a red icon, free on both Android and Apple. So Jen's Christian S says, I was a little later to the office hours, so I don't know if you've already answered this. About the move, second part, turning the handle down. Couldn't you have a strong grip instead so you don't have to worry about turning of the handle? So it does help. It makes it so you have to do less, but you still have to do it. So it just depends. But yeah, it's something you can try, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to do it. It just means that you may have to do it a little bit less, right? So here's someone with a weak grip at contact is going to look like that, right? And someone with a strong grip at contact is going to look like that. So you can see it's not a huge difference there, but there is a difference there. So it's going to be a different sensation. And a lot of times if you're a flipper, you're used to rolling over the face through contact. So you still have to, if you just strengthen your grip and you do that, you're just going to close the face because you're rolling the face over. So if you can get a stronger grip, and it's just going to be a different sensation for you through impact. It's going to feel like you're really holding the face through impact, but you still have to square it earlier in the swing. Everyone's got a different release pattern. If you look at Dustin Johnson, he's like this at the top. He's not like this at impact. He actually releases his wrist a little bit as he's coming into contact. His wrist at impact isn't like this. It's like this at the top, though. It's more like that at impact. There's a little bit of bow in it at impact. So he's actually going from here at the top to there at impact. If you look at Brooks Koepka, he's like this at the top, and as he's coming down, he goes like that. And when he comes into impact, he's more like this. So everyone's a little bit different. You just got to find what works best for you. So Luke F says, currently in Stable Fluid Spine Series, was hitting ball very well with irons. Last few times out, missing a ton of shots. Semi-shanks is what I call. Doing same setup with tilt. So it feels like setup takeaway is getting consistent tips. Try to hit the ball on the toe. If you're hitting it on the heel, try to hit it on the toe. You may be swinging too much from the inside. What happens sometimes, if you're someone who's set up vertically, right? You're set up like this normally, and you're like this at the top normally. And from that position, you swing on plane before, and then you go to a more tilted away approach. Well, you may now swing a little bit more from the inside, right? Or a lot more from the inside. So that can cause those heel strikes and those shanks and things that are going on. So try to hit it off the toe and look at your swing and see if you're swinging too much from the inside, and maybe feel like you've got that spine angle away, but maybe feel like you're swinging more over the top as you're coming in, and that will help you get rid of those. What price is the V1 app? It's free. So last question here from Scott, and I appreciate it. Thanks. A lot of people are saying thanks. No problem. Glad I could help. So last question here from Scott says, I ordered the swing radar Clay suggested, and they tell me that they can't fill in the order. Is there another choice you suggest? So if you can find it, the Swing Caddy 2, but they don't make them anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately, folks, the PRGR, they ran out. So they're trying to get some more made. I think they didn't expect this pandemic thing to happen, obviously, and a lot of people are practicing from home. So, stock was not prepared for that, essentially. So a lot of people are purchasing these because they're practicing from home. So I do apologize. From my understanding, they are going to get some more in the 25th, 30th, something like that. There may be some other places online where you can find the PRGR. So just Google PRGR Black and see if you can find it somewhere else other than the vendor that we provided for you. If you can't find one of those, see if you can find a Swing Speed Radar Swing Speed Radar. It's the blue device. They typically have them on Amazon. I haven't looked lately, but they're usually a little bit cheaper, but they're just going to give you club head speed. It's a little bit more finicky in what things they suggest. If you go to that video where Clay talks about all the devices and stuff, if you go to that video, check out that video, all of those devices on there, they all work. They all will tell you if you're gaining club head speed or not. That's really the main thing you want to know. is you want to know if you're gaining club head speed. So they all tell you if you go from, so for example, the PRGR is the most accurate one that we tested, but the ZEP, the one that goes on your wrist, the supersonic thing, the swing speed radar, whenever it told us that you got more club head speed, like if it said if the flight scope said you went up 5 miles per hour, so did the swing speed radar. So the number itself may not be accurate, but the increase is accurate, right? So that's what you're most concerned with. You want to see if you're doing better, if you're going from 100 miles per hour to 105 miles per hour, even though it might be, it might be 92 miles per hour to 97 miles per hour. In actuality, what you're really trying to do is get that feedback to see if you're making change, which is the whole reason to use one of those devices. So all of them work. It's just a matter of the PRGR being the most accurate one. And some of them obviously have more features than others. So I would try to see if you can find the PRGR somewhere else, maybe somewhere else online. But Swing Speed Radar is another great option. Swing Caddy 2, if you can still find it, is a good option. The Flight Scope Mevo is a good option. I haven't tested this, but I've heard that Garmin G80 is a good option, and it's got some other, it's $500, but I think it's got GPS and stuff on it, and some other added features. So might be more what you're looking for. But I think for the money and for the accuracy and the ease of use, it's tough to beat the PRGR at about $200. So, but anyway, thanks for joining me today. We'll be back here Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time.